The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples left from there and began a journey through Galilee, but he did not wish anyone to know about it. He was teaching his disciples and telling them, "The Son of Man is to be handed over to men, and they will kill him. And 3 days after his death, the Son of Man will rise." But they did not understand the saying, and they were afraid to question him. They came to Capernaum, and once inside the house, he began to ask them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" They remained silent. They had been discussing among themselves on the way who was the greatest. Then he sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last of all and the servant of all." Taking a child, he placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around the child, he said to them, "Whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The other day I was watching TV, and this guy says, "Let's give props for the singers." I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean give props for the singers?" So I decided to look it up, because if you don't know it, go to your iPad and get definitions. So I got definitions, found out there were 4 of them. First one was the one I thought about. That's something that holds up somebody else. I don't know how it's going to hold up the singer. And I didn't know what giving props was then. And there's things like they use during movies or plays. They have the stage props, books, guns, knives, whatever, chairs, the whole bit. Then I thought about the propeller for my airplane. That was a prop. And I wasn't going to give that prop to anybody. That stays on the airplane. That goes nowhere else. And I found the 4th definition. It is respect for a person. I hadn't known that. I don't know, I must have lost something in translation down through the years. Then I thought, well, now I understood what they said. Give up props for our singer. Give respect. Clap for them. Do something like that. And then that reminded me of a gang member who had been sent to me once. Maybe as punishment, I don't know. But the counselor at school said, "You got into a fight. I want you to go see your priest." So the kid came to see me. And I said, "Why'd you get in the fight?" And he said, "Well, the other young man dissed me. He didn't respect me. He didn't give me the props I deserved." So if somebody doesn't respect me, then the way he thought, you go out and fight the guy. That's what he did. So he got in a fight to earn respect, to earn his props. Well, the Gospel's full of them today. All 3 readings are about people and their props. All 3 of them are. The first reading from the Book of Wisdom, the wicked leaders hate the just one because instead of respecting them because they were the learned people and all of that, he was criticizing them. And if you got criticized, that's not getting respect from somebody else. And so they got mad. And what they were saying in the Book of Wisdom was that he was complaining, the just one was complaining that they were violating the law of God and they weren't living out what they were supposed to be as ministers to the people. They weren't getting their expected props as leaders of the people, so they got ticked off and they got mad at that and they were going to go out and kill him. And that's eventually what did happen to Jesus. That's why Jesus is talking about in the Gospel today about the people that are planning to kill him. But not only were the bad guys, in a sense, doing that, his own disciples were worried about the same old thing. Who is going to be the greatest? I want to sit alongside of Jesus when we get there. When he comes in his kingdom, I want to be his right-hand man. Maybe we all want our props, I don't know. Jesus' answer to this was really a tour de force. Because Jesus turns right around and he grabs this little child and he says, you know, you guys got it all wrong. In effect, he says, if you want props, if you want to be respected, if you want to be great, take care of a child. And what you're supposed to do when you hear that, and all of you parents know this, that caring for a child means going through yucky stuff. I had a baptism yesterday of a 1-month-old child. The church smelled not only of incense. And before they left, they had to change the diaper. Because that's love, isn't it? That's reaching out. That's what Jesus is saying. If you want to be great, if you want your props, don't worry about what people are saying about you. Reach out to love. James got the message in the second reading today too, that true wisdom, he says, is pure, peaceful, compliant, full of mercy and good fruit, without inconsistency and insincerity. We gain our props, we gain our respect by how we live our lives in the manner James describes in that letter. We are Christians, and our basic attitude of our relationship with other people must be that of Jesus. The way, his way, the way of service. The Christianity and our props are not a popularity contest, but rather it's a contest of service. Can we outdo one another in love and caring for others? And I was looking around for an example, and I found one. His name is Pope Francis. He was one of the youngest ever to be made provincial of his area. The Jesuits divide the world up into provinces. They're the largest religious order in the Catholic Church. And they divide their area into provinces, and the head guy in each of the areas, and this was a province of Argentina, headquartered in Buenos Aires, where at that time Father Bergoglio was named the provincial. He was one of the youngest ever. He was 38 years old when he was made provincial. And then when he got done, after 6 years, they move you to another job. Usually you get moved down, and this is a very typical way the Jesuits work. If you're a big person, your next job is a little person. They do that purposely, so that nobody thinks that it's me all the time. But that didn't happen to Bergoglio. He was made head of the training for the Jesuits, which was a very important job. And he was known as a severe leader. He was demanding of the Jesuits under him that they better toe the mark. And if they didn't do the things right, they were doing the dishes. That's what he would do with them. He was tough as nails. And there were always repercussions for failures. But that got into the community. And it sort of made a division in the community. And so in 1990, he was sent to Cordoba, 500 miles away from Buenos Aires, second largest city in Argentina. But his job was to hear confessions. That's it. No more, nothing else. He saw it as an exile. A lot of his friends thought he was being exiled also. He went into what we would call a dark night of the soul. He spent a lot of time in prayer. I was trying to count up the number of hours when I read all this, and he was doing 3 hours of prayer a day. Otherwise, he would just sit in his room, unless he was able to help around the house. He would sit in his room waiting for the buzzer to ring and then go to the front door and hear the confession of whoever passed by. That's how they ran it there. He spent his other time there doing housework, preparing meals, folding laundry, and he changed the soiled sheets of sick and elderly Jesuits. He cared for his brothers who were incontinent, his brothers who were old and infirm. And he took care of them. It wasn't easy. A friend of his said, I saw it in his face. I could see he was going through a spiritual purification, a dark night. And in an interview, the Pope himself said, it was a time of purification. It was a dark time when one does not see much. I prayed a lot. I read. I wrote quite a bit and lived my life. What I did in Cordoba had more to do with my inner life. His props were all taken away. That's the dark night of the soul. The props are taken away. But then the Lord moves in a mysterious way, the God of surprises. In 1992, he was brought back to Buenos Aires as auxiliary bishop, no longer as a leader of the Jesuits, but now second or third in command. And I wonder sometimes, I was in Buenos Aires at that time in 93 and 94. And I don't know if I ever met the guy. I sure wish I'd be able to tell you. I met him, but I haven't. Wasn't able to do that. But he came back as auxiliary bishop as a change of man. And then they made him Archbishop of Buenos Aires. And that's when they saw how different he was. He was determined not to make the mistakes of his younger life. He consulted his assistant bishops and priests. He invited their opinions before making decisions, an approach he's carried into the papacy. He'd ride the bus, for heaven's sakes, when he went to work. I mean, that's sure different than that other guy that was boom, 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 making him toe the mark. Where the Pope lives now, in Casa Santa Maria, how he gets around. Like the other day when he jumped with his bodyguard, jumped into a car and went down to get new eyeglasses downtown Rome. This is amazing to me. But that all grows out of what he learned. And above all, the thing that comes through the loudest from Cordoba is his insistence on mercy. That he himself received God's mercy in this time of darkness. And because he did that, he's able to share that mercy with others. And so the bottom line today is that our props are not to be found in what others think of us. Our props are not found in how people clap for us and cheer for us and say, what a great guy you are. No. Our props are only found in God. That's what Francis teaches. Only in God. There's a prayer Mother Teresa once wrote for her sisters, but I think it applies to us. Here's what she said. People are also often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous of you. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. In the final analysis, it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. How true that is. Watch the Pope's visit. If you can get there, get there. If not, EWTN has it. Channel 1212 has it. That's the one I watched this morning. Remember, what you see and what he says is the outgrowth of his very personal experience of having no props except the Lord. No props except the Lord. And then when it comes to your life, remember, it's got to be the same with us. What counts most is where we are with our God. And that we serve, that we love like he served us. And he took a little child. He placed that child in their midst and said, whatever you do to a child, you do to me. That is love. And that's really what we're all about. Amen. Now,